everyone, it's Paola. Welcome back to my channel. Graphic design, art, my life, anything I vlog, whatever. This is my channel. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. So for today's video, I wanted to sit down and kind of revisit art school. So let's talk about it. If you don't know, I studied at a four-year university, liberal arts college university in Michigan, that had a design program, an art program, and I got a BFA in fine art. Concentration graphic design, minor in art history. So that's my background before we get started. I'm sure I've talked about this before. I have revisited in another video some of my old projects that are very like design, that I'm really proud of, things like that. And I think in this video we're gonna focus more on like the other aspects of art school, like the printed out projects, the tactile design projects, the things that were in my sculpture classes and 3D art classes. And I had so many different types of classes. So let's kind of revisit the more tactile side of art school because that's what I'm so interested in right now in my design journey. So let's talk about it from before and who I was throughout my design journey. Okay, starting with the beginning of college, one of the first type of classes. I took a 3D design class. I took a 2D and then a 3D, and I just discovered so many different types of mediums because they really forced you into kind of like trying everything. Like every project was with a different medium. So here is my paper project, which is where I had to make a saw, like I had to make an object. So we went down to the wood shop and I picked a saw, and then I actually made it work. Like it was just tape and paper. That was what it was for the sculpture. And I like made the blade rotate and everything. But yeah, this is where I learned how to start creating with my hands and also photographing my work for the first time. Here is a cardboard project from that year. What an interesting time. I perforated it so I could have those round shapes, and I really felt like I challenged myself, especially with mediums that I was very unfamiliar with. I wasn't really used to working like this, and I was like, okay, where's the graphic design, right? But like this was so helpful in my journey and has helped me even now remember like the fun hands-on parts that I really loved about it. I also had a little wood project where we made like little joints, and it was all about like making things come together and creating open space, three-dimensional objects, and just working with these types of things. So yeah, it was just very interesting and challenging time, and I just wanted to show you some of this work because I think it has definitely influenced where I've gone now. I also did a soft sculpture in this class, which was still my first year of college, which I was actually really proud of. I stayed up all night making it. That was the one and only time I pulled an all-nighter to make this project, and I loved sewing it together. I love this type of stuff, honestly. I just thought it was kind of impressive for my first year of school to be thinking in this way already, like 2D into 3D, and then incorporating that work into my design work later, where I did like embroidery for a poster or something like that, so 3D into 2D as well. Art school taught me so much like about planning. So we did a lot of like planning phases of projects, like group projects, and then also just individual projects. It was a lot of like the process of design. I mean, I took a class that was literally called design process. So yeah, it was really about the process of creating these projects, no matter what they were and what they were going to end up being, and being able to like confidently go from one end to another and know why you're making all those steps in between. I had to present a lot of these presentations too. Like I had to make like actual presentations and pitch them, like a skincare line product that I made. This was the box. It was very interesting to make because it was like incorporating a lot of my design experience so far there in school, but then also like building a box and making interesting packaging shapes and making a brand for the first time. So it made me think about a lot of these different elements and not just like logo design for a brand, you know what I mean? So it really pushed me. I also, utilized bubblegum to create a bubblegum poster, which you guys have probably seen. A lot of the stuff's up on my website too. But yeah, just using like actual objects to create design is just my favorite thing, and I feel like I did it so much more in school than I do now. Also, hopefully seeing my fabric pieces, my textiles, which again incorporated a lot of design into a physical, piece. And I think that I was really inspired by posters in my fabric designs and not just patterns. So I really took an untraditional route with that I really love. I don't believe you've seen this fabric piece that I did in my senior class. It was kind of like a mini project we did while preparing for our big show, where I did my magazine and installation piece that you've also probably seen. But if you haven't, it's on my website. In sculpture, I learned how to do like plaster casting. I learned how to weld, and I also made a paper mache heart. So that was all really fun. Even though I felt honestly that I was very bad at sculpture itself, I was very bad with the clay and the plaster and all of that. I don't think that I could necessarily like venture into that side of art. I also did not take ceramics because I was too afraid. That's when I took my fibers classes and my fabric stuff. Overall in art school, I really loved the planning phases of things. Like I said, like working with people. We created in typography like physical objects into letters. That was a project we had to do, like the whole alphabet. We had to do packaging design in my graphic design 2 class, so that's where I created a tea box. But I loved planning it. Like I loved making the layout of the packaging like in Illustrator and all of that. That was just so fun to me. I also created some websites. Like I learned a teeny bit of coding, I was not good at it, but we did also just make the websites like with actual like Adobe Muse and stuff, so it wasn't coding, but it was a really fun class too. And I'm sure I've talked about it before. I talked about, I think in another video, I did like a beauty queen like scary website that I thought was really weird and interesting, and I made a website that I actually coded to just like make all these things floating in space, and that was kind of weird, but that was like also a fun one. I just feel like I explored so many different mediums in school, and that's what I really loved about it, because it's hard to take the time now to like sit down and explore everything. I think it's hard to be like self-motivated and like pushing yourself to make a completely random thing that you would never make, like without a professor sitting there and telling you to do it, at least for me. I personally really loved the structure of school. I'm not making this video to be like, oh my god, go to art school, like you have to go to art school. I'm just reminiscing and talking about what I loved about my design journey at school, because I just loved the environment I was in. I felt so inspired by like my classmates and everyone, and we had critiques which were torture but also like very helpful, and just having those years of experience really helped shape who I am as a designer now. And I think I also would just not be the designer I am in the way that I love hands-on, I love making things, I love sewing things, I love creating things like that for my design work. I just wouldn't be like that without this experience of art school. So just because of the way it was, like because I studied fine art, I took everything from like drawing to sculpture to all my design classes. So it was really fun. But yeah, I'm glad I sat down here today to talk about like work that you've never seen before from me, and a lot of like my handmade stuff and my sculptures and things that inspired me really, and I feel like I want to get into again unprompted, so hopefully I can like motivate myself. I have so many projects coming, so many in my head, so get ready for that, and also tell me what you're working on right now in the comments and what you want to see from me. I'm gonna definitely like create my desk area. I'm making it really nice. I just got some cool stuff for it, so I'll make a video on that too. But yeah, let me know, and yeah, give this video a like if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next one. Okay, bye. That my graphic design, oh my god, I'm like, I hate buses because suddenly there's 10,000 going by in trucks on tiny roads. I don't understand.